I'm not sure. Well, the only way to break the cycle is to change your mind. And the only way to change people's minds is through example, not through preaching. When you find out something, you find out some new information, you want to help others and tell people about it. But the best thing you could do, in 6 months, I want to just be able to take off my shirt and go, here, this is, you can't argue with results. And folks, thousands of people are getting these results. So people say, oh, it's anecdotal, but when thousands of people are getting the same and similar results, there's something going on here. It's a revolution. The tide is turning. Many doctors are starting to get on board. And I've mentioned the doctors before: Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Hampton, Dr. Boz, Dr. Westman, Dr. Chafee. All right. Hello, my friends. I recently did an interview on Dave Mack's podcast, The No Carb Life, I believe is what it's called. My progress is very good. I am still holding at my same weight. I haven't lost any more weight, but I noticed that my body composition is changing and I'm looking better. I'm liking more what I see in the mirror, and that's always good. I think I'm ready for another fast. And so I've been about the same weight for about a week, and I haven't really changed much of anything. And so I think a fast will probably break through that plateau, if you will. That's one of the things that fasting is good for. Not to mention I could use the heel. I think I'm going to shoot for a 72-hour dry fast. So that'll be a big one. Anyways, today I wanted to talk about our culture of food. It seems to me that our culture of food is self-sabotage, and we don't even know it. And I'm not saying it's our fault, but in our culture, we celebrate around food. Food is enjoyment. I hear it all the time on the forums. People say, oh, I can't do carnivore, I want to enjoy life. And I think I've said something like that before too, in the past. But what is enjoying life if you can't have your health? Isn't being healthy enjoying life? So we are willing to suck down all of these processed carbs and foods and sugars, especially around the holidays, and celebrate it. And this is enjoyment, and drinking all the alcohol and so on and so forth. And I think that's probably, and I'm not judging, because I've done all of the same things and felt the same way. I have a different perspective now, as you can tell. But I think it comes from, our ancestral sitting around the campfire, and sharing stories of the hunt, or the perils or whatever of life back in those days. And so we have this camaraderie around food. And so that's enjoyment, and we get pleasure from eating certain kinds of foods, especially if they taste good and so on. I think that sugar in our era has become the norm instead of the exception. Back in the 19th century, sugar was considered a treat. It didn't happen very often. And so, pies and cakes and things like that were a celebration, usually of the holidays, or maybe birthdays or other special occasions. But as society became more adept and not having to worry about survival as much as, and being able to have free time and entertainment and so forth, sugar has become the prevalent substance, if you will, of our time. And now it has become the bane of Western society, if you think about it. Sugar is the fuel for almost all, if not all, disease. And carbs convert to sugar in the body. And so we have this culture of lies, and again, I'm not judging, and we didn't know these were lies because we were raised this way in our culture, that all these sweet foods and things are enjoyable, and that's how, and you're really living life if you are eating those things and can eat those things and so on. But now more and more people are becoming resistant to them. Their bodies are actually rejecting it and causing all sorts of disease and autoimmune diseases and maladies and skin maladies and and everything, and Parkinson's. Did you know the carnivore diet reverses Parkinson's? The type 2 diabetes, cancer, you name it. I've said this before. You name it. Every disease under the sun can be reversed just by eating a proper human diet, putting the proper nutrients into your body. The body's a temple. So this is why I guess it's so hard for people to fathom eating an all-meat diet, or at least an all-animal-based diet, because it's our culture. And I say that's the sugar talking, or that's the carbs talking, because that's how I talked too. Oh, I don't want to give up this, and I don't want to give up that. I love tortillas. I used to make these burritos, with a little bit of meat and some refried beans and some cheese in there, and roll it all up in a tortilla, and I could eat 2, 3, 4, or 5 of those. They tasted so good. I think people would be better off if they eliminated just white flour and sugar to start with. And I did that myself too, going on a paleo diet, and that helped. And actually the paleo primal diet was the one diet that I was able to sustain for 5 years or more. But it brings me back to this self-sabotage of our lives. Who knew that the carbs were going to catch up to us in old age? All of these maladies that we think are normal for old age are not normal. It's the food, dummy. It's the carbs, dummy. And yeah, and I'm talking about me too. I'm not disparaging anybody, because I'm a part of this culture too, and I'm just now realizing these things. I'm not sure, well, the only way to break the cycle is to change your mind. And the only way to change people's minds is through example, not through preaching. When you find out something, you find out some new information, you want to help others and tell people about it. But the best thing you could do, in 6 months, I want to just be able to take off my shirt and go, here, this is what the carnivore diet can do for you at 67, 68 years old or more. That's the best motivation and the best convincing right there. You can't argue with results. And folks, thousands of people are getting these results. So people say, oh, it's anecdotal, but when thousands of people are getting the same and similar results, there's something going on here. It's a revolution. The tide is turning. Many doctors are starting to get on board. And I've mentioned the doctors before: Dr. Berry, Dr. Baker, Dr. Hampton, Dr. Boz, Dr. Westman, Dr. Chafee. Do the research, my friends. Don't take my word for it. There's millions of people who are suffering needlessly, and I want to try and do my part to help as many of those people in their suffering. And if you go and look at the carnivore videos on YouTube and elsewhere and read the comments, and like I'm telling you folks, thousands of people have reversed diseases that were not supposed to be reversible, including diabetes and cancer and Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and dementia. Maggie, I believe it's Maggie White is her name. Carrie calls her Maggie the rancher. 82 years old, running around, riding her horses, doing the farm chores and so on, climbing the fences, and and she doesn't look a day over 50 to me. Some people have said maybe 60s, but at 82 and no gray hair. She says she's been carnivore for 62 years. That's incredible. That's incredible. And the people that say, oh yeah, it's not viable long term, well, the Inuit, what we've called the Eskimos, have proven that that's untrue. And when they're on that traditional diet, they haven't had all the maladies that we in the West have had. It's only when they've begun to eat the Western diet that they've gotten those maladies. So I'm not trying to convince anybody, folks. I'm just telling you what I'm doing and what I'm learning. This is what I've learned. Please do your own research. Go and look at all the examples out there. Look at all the testimonies and the stories. Some of them are so enlightening and so inspiring. People who've come back from near death, basically. So there it is. We need to stop sabotaging ourselves because our culture says that's what we're supposed to do. And in this time of truth, this season of truth, so many things are being exposed that we didn't know, we didn't understand, and that we were outright lied to about. And I'm not saying everything was a lie, and most of the people spreading them didn't know they were lying. They were just spreading what they thought was right, and I've spread some of that too. So again, not judging anybody. All right, my friends, I want to enjoy my life too, and being healthy is how I enjoy my life, and eating carnivore keeps me healthy. Peace out, my friends.